Chosen one, pause for a moment and let your spirit catch up to this message, because what you are encountering right now is not passing content, not emotional coincidence, and not something you happen to stumble upon. This moment has weight because it was arranged. Everything changes tomorrow, and heaven wanted your attention before the shift arrived. This is not fear speaking, and it is not urgency born from panic. It is sacred timing announcing itself. Something has been moving behind the scenes of your life, quietly, patiently, deliberately, and now the curtain is beginning to part. You may have felt an unexplainable pull today, a heaviness mixed with anticipation, a sense that something important was approaching without clear explanation. That sensation is not imagination, it is alignment. Divine alignment never feels loud at first, it feels precise. Tomorrow is not just another date, it is a spiritual marker, a hinge in time where preparation meets activation. Heaven does not rush these moments, and it does not miss them either. Every delay you endured, every unanswered prayer, every season where nothing seemed to move was not absence, it was positioning. This message is arriving now because your spirit is ready to hear it. What is about to unfold carries sacred weight, and it centers on your daughter. This is why you are being asked to stay present, to listen beyond the words, to remain until the end, because something unseen is activating even as you read. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly on time. Heaven is steadying your heart before momentum increases, reminding you that nothing about what is coming is accidental. Tomorrow does not announce itself with spectacle, it arrives with certainty. And certainty is what your spirit is being anchored in right now. Your daughter's life was never random, no matter how ordinary or complicated the circumstances of her arrival may have seemed at the time. Her birth was intentional, formed with purpose long before you ever knew her name. She is not an accident of timing, not the result of chance decisions, and not a mistake shaped by circumstance. Heaven recognized her before the world ever tried to define her, and that recognition marked her with a depth that others often misunderstood. From early on, there was something different about her, an emotional awareness, a sensitivity, a way of perceiving things that went beyond what was expected. What some interpreted as fragility, rebellion, confusion, or intensity was actually spiritual wiring. She feels deeply because she was designed to discern deeply. She notices what others overlook because she was built to carry awareness. People may have misread her, tried to simplify her, or even attempted to reshape her into something more convenient or predictable, but heaven never made that mistake. Her uniqueness was not a flaw, it was a signal. There were signs early, questions she asked that felt older than her years, emotions she carried that seemed disproportionate to her age, moments of insight that surprised even you. These were not coincidences. They were indicators of a soul tuned to a higher frequency. While misunderstanding followed her in the natural, recognition surrounded her in the unseen. What is sacred is often misjudged before it is honored. Heaven has been guarding her identity even when she did not yet know how to guard it herself. And now, what has been protected is preparing to be revealed. A turning point is approaching that does not announce itself with noise, but with certainty, and tomorrow marks the threshold where something long-forming finally settles into alignment. This is not about a sudden external change. It is about an internal recalibration taking place in your daughter's spirit. Something within her has been maturing quietly, waiting for the precise moment when readiness and timing intersect. Tomorrow is not random. It is designated. It marks the transition from formation to activation. There is a spiritual download occurring, clarity, identity, and understanding being imparted in a way that cannot be taught or forced. This is not information. It is recognition. Her soul is receiving alignment that brings stability rather than chaos, peace rather than confusion. You may not see immediate outward changes, but you will feel a shift in her presence, her certainty, the way she carries herself. This turning point affects more than her future. It reshapes your role as well. You are not losing influence. You are witnessing alignment. What once felt delayed was actually being refined. Heaven never releases weight before strength is built. Tomorrow is not about spectacle. It is about crossing a line that cannot be uncrossed. After this, things do not return to how they were. They move forward differently. You have never been only a parent in this story. You have been a bridge, standing between heaven's intention and her earthly journey, often without realizing the full spiritual weight of what you were carrying. Your prayers formed pathways long before she knew how to walk them. Your tears watered seeds you could not yet see. Your endurance mattered more than your understanding. Every time you chose faith when doubt was louder, every time you stayed consistent when nothing seemed to change, you were planting something that required time. Heaven does not measure impact by visibility. It measures it by obedience. No prayer was wasted. No moment of intercession went unnoticed. This shift required both her readiness and your faith. That is why it unfolded slowly. That is why it took endurance. Tomorrow is not a reward for perfection. It is the result of persistence. Seeds planted through obedience are now pressing upward, ready to break the surface. There were battles you carried quietly, worries you did not always voice, heartbreaks you learned to survive in silence. You watched her struggle at times without knowing how to help, feeling helpless and frustrated, questioning whether you were doing enough. Those moments shaped you more than you realize. What you were facing was not only emotional, it was spiritual resistance aimed at disrupting her lineage. The pressure increased because activation was approaching. Recent heaviness was not a sign of failure, it was evidence of proximity. Heaven responded to your perseverance. Every time you refused to give up, you pushed back darkness you could not see. You were holding the line, and heaven noticed. There is a door opening that is not given to everyone, a divine invitation tied to obedience and timing rather than talent or effort. Your daughter is stepping into access, shaped by purpose. What opens for her carries generational implications, healing, alignment, and restoration flowing forward. Legacy is shifting. Old patterns lose authority. New alignment takes root. Your role now is trust. Faith here does not demand explanation. It releases control. What unfolds through her obedience will echo beyond her individual story. You will begin to notice changes, not loud, not forced, but undeniable. Her speech may carry clarity where there was once hesitation. Her confidence will feel grounded rather than borrowed. What may look like boldness is actually revelation. The veil over her identity is lifting. Healing accelerates emotionally, mentally, spiritually. She is not becoming someone new. She is remembering who she has always been. Strength replaces confusion. Peace replaces striving. Watch closely. These signs will be gentle, but they will confirm that alignment has begun. Even now, your voice carries authority in her life in ways you may underestimate or overlook, because parental authority does not expire when a child grows older or more independent. It simply changes form. What you speak over your daughter travels farther than physical distance, penetrates deeper than emotional walls, and reaches places logic cannot access. Your words do not need her immediate agreement to take root. They move through the eternal bond that connects you. Heaven recognizes this authority because it was entrusted to you, not earned through perfection, but granted through position and love. When you bless her intentionally, When you speak life instead of fear, alignment instead of anxiety, you are partnering with what heaven is already declaring. Even when your words feel unheard or unacknowledged, they still register in the unseen. There were seasons when silence felt safer than speaking, when you worried that saying the wrong thing might do more harm than good. But this season invites intentional declaration. Speak peace when uncertainty tries to rise. Speak clarity when confusion attempts to linger. Speak courage where old fear once lived. You are not forcing her path, you are fortifying it. Agreement with heaven creates movement, and your voice is one of the instruments heaven responds to. What you declare now does not manipulate outcomes, it aligns environments. The power of blessing is not emotional, it is structural. It builds support around her destiny that she may not even consciously recognize, but she will feel. Your voice still matters. It always has. What the enemy attempted to fracture, heaven now restores with precision and care. This season is marked by reversal, quiet, undeniable, and complete. Places where your daughter was once questioned will become places where her presence speaks for itself. Criticism loses its volume when alignment takes root. The scars she carries will not be erased, but they will be transformed, repurposed into evidence of survival rather than reminders of pain. Nothing she endured was wasted. It was shaped into strength. Her elevation will not come through argument or defense. It will speak through fruit. People who doubted will not need convincing. Clarity will answer for her. What was meant to shame becomes a testimony. What was meant to delay becomes preparation. Heaven restores not only what was taken, but what was threatened. Reward follows faithfulness, not visibility. This is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about heaven honoring endurance. Her survival becomes a source of healing for others who recognize themselves in her story. Restoration here is layered, emotional, spiritual, relational, and it unfolds with beauty, timing, and undeniability that cannot be rushed or replicated. What is unfolding now stretches far beyond one life. It reaches backward and forward at the same time. Ancient promises, long delayed or disrupted, are being restored through your daughter. Patterns that repeated for generations begin to lose authority. Cycles that felt impossible to break finally weaken. This is lineage healing, not personal ambition. Resistance increased because something old was being challenged. Breakthrough always follows pressure when generational alignment is involved. Your daughter is carrying a greater promise than she realizes, not because she sought it, but because it was entrusted to her. And you played a role in preserving it. Your covering mattered. Your obedience mattered. You stood in gaps you did not fully understand, and heaven counted it. What begins here does not end here. This shift alters the spiritual landscape of your family line. It is an honor, not a burden. And it required faithfulness to reach this moment. Her emergence into purpose will not be abrupt or theatrical. It will be steady, undeniable, and grounded. Gifts awaken gradually. Spiritual discernment, emotional intelligence, intellectual clarity. Fear begins to loosen its grip as false identities fall away. What once felt heavy begins to feel aligned. She will know things she cannot fully explain, perceive truths others miss, and carry authority without striving for it. Divine memory unlocks wisdom beyond her years, not arrogance, but confidence rooted in knowing. The need to prove herself fades as clarity takes its place. Her perception changes, and with it, the way she moves through the world shifts. Purpose does not rush. It settles. And once it does, it becomes difficult to shake. This is not the end of your season. It is the rise of a new one. As she aligns, weight lifts from you. Generational heaviness you carried without naming begins to loosen. Joy returns in quiet ways. Energy restores gradually. Purpose reawakens where fatigue once lived. You step into harvest after years of sowing without immediate reward. Your transformation matters just as much as hers. This legacy is not built on sacrifice alone. It is built on mutual restoration. You are not left behind as she moves forward. You move with her, differently but intentionally. Her story does not end with personal healing. It expands into impact. Others will recognize themselves in her journey. She becomes a guide, a voice, a healer, not by title, but by presence. Doors open.
Rooms make space. Opportunities shine.
Platforms emerge organically, without forcing. This is fulfillment, not performance. Influence flows from authenticity, not ambition. Her life becomes a beacon, not because she sought visibility, but because truth draws attention. What was spoken over her quietly begins to echo outward. This season calls for attunement rather than control, presence rather than pressure. There will be moments when silence matters more than advice, when listening anchors more than instruction. Allow her space to process, reflect, and grow without rushing her understanding. Support paths that feel unfamiliar without letting fear speak louder than trust. Your role now is not to steer every step, but to remain available, grounded, and steady. Divine timing often unfolds without explanation.
Trust it anyway.
Anchoring her with presence creates safety she will always return to. Tomorrow is not marked by spectacle. It is marked by stillness, awareness, and internal knowing. It is a spiritual threshold, not a visible announcement. Destiny meets divine schedule quietly. False narratives unravel. Old labels lose credibility. Identity begins rebuilding from truth rather than trauma. What shifts tomorrow may not be obvious immediately, but it will be irreversible. Once crossed, this line cannot be uncrossed. Heaven does not need applause to move. It needs alignment. Your faithfulness laid the foundation for her rise. Seeds planted through integrity, patience, and resilience now support what emerges. You were the groundwork. Heaven honors heart, not flawlessness. Peace upgrades alongside purpose. What you inherit together is stability, clarity, and rest. This is shared inheritance, not earned through striving, but granted through obedience. Everything changes tomorrow, not because of effort, but because of alignment. Nothing was wasted. No season was meaningless. Release control and trust momentum. This moment is holy, earned, and unfolding exactly as it should. It begins with her, but it includes you.